Well, good morning, everyone. You will be forgiven if you think you may have stumbled upon a Wednesday morning Advent service. That was, in fact, not what's happening here today. That music was a piece composed in honor of Chancellor Patterson's inauguration a decade ago, back more than a decade ago now, as Chancellor of UW-Stevens Point, the 14th Chancellor in our history. And today, we're here at this town hall to reflect upon Bernie's tenure as Chancellor and to welcome in the 15th Chancellor of the University, Dr. Thomas Gibson. You'll be hearing from both Chancellors later on during this town hall. During this event, I would encourage you to send your well wishes to Chancellor Patterson, maybe even your well wishes to incoming Chancellor or Chancellor Select Gibson through the web page address that's near my shoulder. You can log in and send a message to Bernie or Tom, and I will share comments throughout the town hall today. But as long as I have the floor, I guess I get to have the first word. And Bernie, you might regret this, as you so often have during the 8 years that we've worked together. But 10.5 years ago, when you became our Chancellor, that was before I was the Vice Chancellor for Advancement, I think you sat down at a card table to play a game that you really couldn't win. I think the best you probably could have hoped for was not to end up like Wild Bill Hickok in Deadwood, holding aces and eights. Quite frankly, I don't know why anybody would want to be Chancellor. As you know, Bernie, a friend of mine was president at a university in the Pacific Northwest. And he was very fond of comparing his job as president at Portland State to being the only fire hydrant in doggy heaven. That's the way he thought about it. And I guess it's safe to say that being Chancellor, being president of a university is a tough job. So big props to you for enduring it, and big props to Tom for stepping into it. And I don't mean that the way it might sound, but we're very glad to have you on, Tom, just as glad as we are to have had Bernie for the last decade. Now, I know most people would be delighted with the burdens of being Chancellor because it comes with the rewards of being Chancellor, and that is a very handsome salary that by any measure is, very good in today's world. But people would be less delighted when they find out about the hours and the demands of the position. Because of Bernie's experience and my friend's experience, I've been able to see at close range how difficult and how tough a job being Chancellor is. In fact, I would say it's thankless because it amounts to incredible long hours. It has a lot of demands. It requires dedication, persistence. Most of all, I've seen it requires resilience to be able to stick through things that, from time to time got me down, but they never seem to get Bernie down. All of those traits were on display through so many ups and downs during his time as Chancellor. And I think one of the hardest things to do were all the constituencies that a Chancellor has to address, maybe even placate. I think it's impossible to be able to make everyone happy. The best you can hope for is to make most of them happy, but even then there's going to be some that are displeased, and you're going to hear from those people. But for some reason, it never got Bernie down. And I was always amazed with that. He persevered through some of the most difficult times that I think a leader in higher education could endure. And I won't recount them here. We all know, most of us have lived through them right along with Bernie. But what really was remarkable to me, beyond the perseverance, is that he faced it all with patience and grace. And that, I think, was maybe the hardest thing of all, is not to let your own personal anxieties kind of bubble over. Now, that's not to say there weren't times of friction. There most certainly were. When you're dealt the hand that we were at our own, personal Deadwood card table, things were due to boil over from time to time. But the fact that we're all still standing and we're all still friends, to me, is a remarkable testimony to Bernie's leadership. From my perspective, this goes to the fact that no matter the urgency or the exigency of a professional matter, Bernie never forgot that he was dealing with living, breathing people. I don't know how many times I heard him say family first. Anybody that knows Bernie, that's worked with him, has heard him say family first. And I really think he meant it, because when my wife underwent a major surgery, Bernie was right there with family first. When my dad faced a series of health challenges that ultimately culminated in his passing away, Bernie was always there with family first. In fact, Bernie was the guy who found time in his schedule as chancellor to come to St. Peter's Church, take time away from his schedule to attend the funeral service. And that was something that a lot of people wouldn't have found time for, even if they weren't chancellor of the university. So Bernie recognized always that human beings are more than just tools and a means of getting work done. So I guess it's no surprise that the Then, Now, and Forever Capital campaign was willed into existence by Bernie. He made sure that unprecedented effort was a success. And what advancement does, which is mainly, importantly, it's fundraising for the university. That is all about people. It's about understanding people, about creating relationships, connecting with them on a human level. And there were many players that contributed to the success of the Then, Now, and Forever Capital campaign, but no one, and I mean no one, was more critical than Bernie. In fact, I can say with absolute confidence that not only would that long-awaited capital campaign not have happened and not been a success without Bernie, but the Welcome Center that we're going to open up later this month would still be the Newman Center if it wasn't for Chancellor Patterson. Bernie's willingness not to only make the trips and the visits to spend time with donors, but his willingness to do all those little things that knit relationships together, the sending of handwritten notes, sending flowers, small gifts on special occasions, making a phone call on somebody's birthday or an anniversary or a wedding, or when one of their loved ones has passed away. There was no gesture, large or small, that Bernie wouldn't do for friends of the university. And those tender mercies created an environment that made philanthropy thrive on this campus in a way that it never has before. And I suspect that was because for Bernie, he came to see UWSP and its community as an extension of family. And for Bernie, it always was, and I think always will be, family first. So Bernie, I now turn the floor over to you for a rebuttal. I'm sure you'll deny everything I've just said, but it will be no good because everyone knows that you are a family first guy, and we're all very grateful for that and for your leadership over the past decade.
Well, thank you, Chris. I appreciate those words, even though they were heavily sprinkled with hyperbole. Nevertheless, I was asked to reflect on a couple of things that I thought were important that happened on campus or with the university over the last 10 or so years. And the first one, the most impactful event on our campus in the last 10 years has to be the pandemic. Now, I know when Lana talked to me about this, she was thinking something more positive. But what's positive about the pandemic, Chris, is how this campus responded, how this university responded. I am so proud of our faculty and our staff and our students and our alumni and our friends, how they came together shoulder to shoulder, if not literally, to do what had to be done. I mean, just think about what facilities had to do to get ready for the fall semester. They had their regular job, and then everything they had to do on top of that, you know, putting up the plexiglass dividers and rearranging the classrooms and moving furniture and storing furniture, and the list went on and on and on. But they got us ready, and we started classes in the fall as scheduled. You know, our emergency operations center has been operating now for, I guess, 10 months. And led by Karina Nebb, and those folks all had day jobs too before they got, I don't know if they were drafted or volunteered, but they've done a wonderful job guiding this university through this very difficult time. And I think about Dr. Helen Luce over in Student Health Services. They're not only running student health, as they always have, but also running a testing center at the same time. So their whole crew over there, that whole team has 2 day jobs now. And they continue to persevere. And not only one testing center, but now we have 2 testing centers on campus, and our police chief, Tony Babel, is running that one, along with his other day job. So it's just hard to imagine how people are getting all this done, but they are. HR had its regular work, as HR departments do, and then on top of all that, all the summer furloughs, and then the university-wide furloughs, and our contact tracers, and our case managers. I mean, the list goes on and on and on about how people have taken on extra work, extra duty, extra responsibilities to manage this pandemic. And I am incredibly proud. Our faculty and our instructional academic staff, I think we were the only university this last fall that was prepared to offer all of our classes in person and online. That was a huge lift for the faculty and the instructional staff, a huge lift. If I was still in the classroom, I don't know how I would have done it. I really don't. I'm quite honest about that, Chris. But they did, and they did. That may be one of the reasons, I suspect it is, why our freshman enrollment is up 25% this semester. You know, we were the only university in the entire system that had an increase in the freshman class. And not only did we have an increase, but as you know, 25% up. That's beyond description. Wow. And all of our staff across the university, regardless of their jobs, have stepped up and responded to this pandemic. We're gonna beat this. We're gonna win. The pandemic will be history at some point, but we still have a ways to go. I just can't express my gratitude adequately to everybody, all of our faculty and our staff and our students, and how they responded. It's been amazing. The most fun thing I think I got to work on, Chris, was the cupola. You know, it really is a beacon, a guiding light for this university. I didn't really realize that until a summer day in 2011, when Jim Eggert and his wife, Kathleen, walked into my office. I didn't know Jim at the time, and he was carrying with him a copy of the Stevens Point Journal. And he said, "Bernie, I'm an alum from this university. I graduated and I left, and I've been gone for about 25 years, living out of state. But I've moved back now. And I was driving around campus and I saw all the scaffolding around the cupola because we were remodeling it. It was in desperate need of renovation. And he said, Bernie, I want to pay for that remodeling of the cupola. As just out of the blue. And I said, oh, well, we can make that happen. We certainly can. That's when I realized how significant, how symbolic the cupola is to our alumni and to our campus. So in 2012, we recruited Joe Hoover and Bill McKee. Joe is a real artist, and those two gentlemen created the replica of the cupola. Stands about 5.5 feet tall. Now, they didn't go out to Lowe's and buy the lumber. No. This is so much more meaningful. The base of that cupola is white pine that grew in Marathon Park in Wausau. the weights in that base came from Jenkins Theater. The slate disc came from a chalkboard in the Communications Arts Building. And the columns are white ash that grew right on the Stevens Point campus. And the spindle on top came from Marshville. The wood came from Marshville. This is amazing. It's so amazing. And to use it at convocation and then at commencement really provides a new tradition for this university. When we had the debut of the cupola at convocation several years back, we had the ceremony, and the students, when it was over, each walked by and touched the cupola. And I walked across campus and I walked through the DUC. This was just 30 minutes after that ceremony ended, and students came up to me already in the DUC saying, "Bernie, why didn't we get to do that when we had convocation?" I mean, this was 30 minutes after the first convocation where we used the cupola. And at commencement, the photographers tell me they put pictures up online, and graduates purchased the photographs from convocation or from commencement. And they say, they have pictures of the chancellor shaking their hands. They have pictures of the deans handing the diplomas. But the most popular pictures that the students purchase are touching the cupola. So we've got to figure out a way to do that after the pandemic. But on top of that, Deb and Ellen Martin, they are great friends of this university, and they own Martin Machining, a precision machining shop that makes things like parts for heart pumps, that kind of thing. Not the old machine shop that you might be thinking of with grindings on the floor. No. And they created a miniature. I wish I had one to show you today of the cupola. And I didn't know that Alan was going to do this, but he also created a container that it sits in. And these two pieces together weigh about 10 pounds. So we learned pretty soon that we can't take them through the airports. We have to ship them when we're taking them to a friend or a donor. So by far, I think the cupola work was probably the most fun things that I've been able to do or be involved with. But the most important, I think, was really led by our students. It can be traced back to June the 24th, 2015. But a little background here first. We had worked for about 2 years trying to get a differential tuition approved for this campus. All but 3 universities had one and had it for years. The one over at La Crosse has generated, since it's been in place, over $100 million. But we were in the middle of a rocky relationship with the legislature, I'll say. Back then, that's about the time that they cut the UW system $250 million. And the governor, Governor Walker, had frozen tuition. It's still frozen as far as that goes. And so we worked on this. The administration worked on it. The faculty wrote letters. The SGA had a vote and had a campaign. Matter of fact, when I walked into the state capitol one day, a good friend of mine who's the state senator said, "Bernie, are we going to talk about anything other than differential tuition today?" So our reputation beginning to precede us. But on that summer day in 2015, I had the pleasure of driving 2 students to a small town just outside of Milwaukee. It was Chris Slattery, who was SGA president, and Katie Cronmiller, who was the vice president of SGA. And they met with newly appointed Regent Michael Grebe. And they made the case much better than I ever could have. And when that meeting was over, Regent Grebe was sold. And our students made that happen. Our students did that. I was so proud of them. And after that meeting, Regent Greeby called the governor, and he told him, you need to let this happen. And so the state legislature approved it in the state budget that year, and the governor signed it into law. If it hadn't been for our students, it would never have happened. And now that differential generates about $2.6 million every year. That's why our students are so visionary, so engaged, so thoughtful, so determined, and so much pointers. Wow. Well, Chris, there's a couple of people I need to mention here because I couldn't have done this job without them. And it's Gene Shear and Sarah Brandel Reeves and Mark Mansky, Rob Mansky. If those three people hadn't been right beside me and right behind me every step of the way, they would have found me collapsed sometime in the parking lot years ago. I couldn't have done it without them. And you, Chris, and Greg Summers, and especially Al Thompson, well, you kept me from driving the rest of the campus crazy on many occasions. So all the rest of you need to thank Chris and Al, particularly Al and Greg, for not allowing me to do all the things I talked about doing. And I can't tell you how many times they have said to me, Bernie, what are you saying there? What do you want to do? Let's talk about that. And so they regularly talked me off the cliff on many occasions. So I'm not sure the campus understands how you had their back. Well, I think, Chris, that's enough about the past. Let me say just a word about the future. I am elated that Tom Gibson is coming to Point. I've now had many conversations with Tom. We've worked together. The transition, I'd like to report, at least from my perspective, it's going very smoothly and ahead of schedule. But man, we are so lucky to have Tom. I've also met his family, his wife, Bridget, and their 3-year-old daughter, Kennedy. The campus is going to love them. I can tell you right now. Matter of fact, Tom, I don't know how to break this to you, but I'll just tell you. You probably heard this before. In the pecking order, for the three of you, I think Kennedy's going to be first. Bridget's going to be right behind her. And somewhere in the distant third is going to be you, Tom. But I'm sure you've been living with that most of your life. So you have a delightful family that the campus is just going to embrace at the first opportunity. But it's your leadership and your thoughtfulness and your eagerness and your persistence will all be what you need to get this job done. And I leave the university knowing it is in good hands with the faculty and the staff and the leadership from the vice chancellors and from our new chancellor. I love this place. I love this university. I love this community. You know, love is a pretty strong word. I used to tell my daughter when she was a small child that she'd use the word hate sometime, and I'd tell her, that's a pretty strong word. You sure you mean that? And I feel the same way about the word love. It's a strong word as well. But I love you all. And I particularly love this university. And this has been the best 10 years of my 42 or 43 year career in higher education have been right here in Stevens Point. Thank you, Chris.
Well, thank you, Bernie. If there ever was a Bernie Patterson moment or 10 minutes, it was right there. We can see that Bernie did nothing at all during 10.5 years. It was always everybody else. And that's the way Bernie has always viewed everything, with that sense of humility and a pride in the work of others and support and gratitude. So if I don't know if we're recording this, if we are, we should have it, because I think that says everything that a person would need to know about Bernie Patterson and about his tenure as Chancellor here. So thank you for those comments, Bernie. Really appreciate it. Now others, if they wish to chime in with their own thoughts about Bernie's tenure and about what Tom has in store, by all means, go to the website. You can see it there over my shoulder, and please log in and make a comment. We have one person did so already. It says, and this is to you, Bernie, not so much a question, but an observation. Your genuine efforts to keep this proud university relevant and vibrant have not gone unnoticed. Thank you for your sincere efforts during a challenging period of time in higher education. Enjoy your retirement and the freedom it provides you and those closest to you. I don't know if you want to comment on that, Bernie, but that was, I thought, a very sincere comment that came in on the website.
I certainly appreciate it, Chris. My best to everyone.
Well, there are more coming, but we'll save those for later. Right now, I would like to give the floor to the Dean from my home college, the College of Fine Arts and Communication, Dean Valerie CISLER. Valerie?
Good morning, Bernie and all. Chancellor Patterson, on behalf of all the faculty, students, and staff in the College of Fine Arts and Communication, we want to thank you for your 10.5 years of leadership on this campus. We know that as much as you could, you loved attending our art exhibitions, our music concerts, and theater and dance productions. Now, you are always welcome to come back and attend, but I understand you're moving away. So we have a gift to show our appreciation, and that is, if I can find it on here, we are giving you free tickets to the spring season of the theater and dance department. So we have 3 plays and dance stage, and these will be virtual. And so we will send you the links and you can join us. It's not the same as First Nighters, but you know, you can have your wine on the side. Anyway, congratulations.
Valerie?
Yes.
Valerie, I want you to know, you mentioned First Nighters. The people I sold my house to are moving here from Waupaca. And I gave them a big pitch about First Nighters, and they are very interested. So they're going to be in touch, I'm sure, about First Nighters.
That's wonderful. Well, congratulations on your retirement, and welcome, Chancellor Gibson. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Valerie. That was really wonderful. And Bernie, I want you to know that last days of Judas Iscariot, that's not a metaphor about you or anything like that. That's strictly drama. It's all made up. It's all in good fun. So we do have another comment that came in via the website. Again, the address is just over my shoulder here. It says, I want to thank Chancellor Patterson for all of his years of dedication, loyalty, and inspiration by doing a job that was difficult, challenging, and no doubt sometimes just downright impossible. But he hung in there with us, and for that I am grateful, especially because I am a townie, and it makes me more proud of Stevens Point than ever to have someone from another state come to our humble little town in the heart of Wisconsin to work and live, and then he ends up loving it just as much as I do. Maybe even becoming a townie as well. I guess he's moving to Oklahoma, but I think you'll always have Stevens Point in your heart, Bernie. Well, anyway, this message concludes by saying, I was just wondering what he plans to do with his purple and gold shoes, maybe passing them on to Tom Gibson.
I'm going to spend the summers in Wisconsin, so I'll be around. I love this state.
That was apparent. You know, and I didn't write this one, but I also grew up in Stevens Point and went to the university here. And I could tell that, you know, your affection for the community as well as the campus was genuine and sincere. And the fact that you'll be spending the summer here, and really summers in Wisconsin are about as good as it gets. So that's terrific. And as far as those purple and gold shoes, I I don't know if you're Tom's size, but I'm sure you'd be willing to let him know where you got them. I think they're Allen Edmonds, another Wisconsin brand, and maybe Tom could have some of those made for himself.
Yeah.
All right, let's as long as we're passing torches and baton and whatever other analogy you want to make. Next up is the Dean of the College of Professional Studies. One of those people that had a big hand in making the Capitol campaign a success, Dean Marty Loy. Marty?
Hello, everybody. Bernie, one of the first times I heard you speak as Chancellor, you mentioned that you liked pie. And the CPS Cafe is unique in that it's a food service lab for dietetic students. So the food in the cafe literally is created by students. The cafe supports student learning and is part of the hands-on learning experience here in the College of Professional Studies. I also learned early on that you were very, very student-centered Chancellor. Every time you were asked our mission, your response was always the same: student success. And most of what you've accomplished was in support of students and that mission. So on behalf of the College of Professional Studies, it's only fitting to honor you and your time here with a CPS pie handmade by by your students. It'll be on your desk along with the CPS coffee mug later this afternoon.
I'll be in to pick it up.
Great.
Now, what kind of pie is that, Marty?
This one is apple pie.
Oh,
Hope
wonderful.
that's okay with you.
That.
And one more thing, Bernie. At the end of your last day, after you turn off that light and close the office door for the last time, be sure to do what you've asked us to do many times. Stop and put your hand on that cupola, because you can be proud of how you've served our students and our campus and what you've accomplished here at UW-Stevens Point.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Marty. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I've enjoyed the apple pie. Incidentally, I picked one up for the recently passed holiday. So you're going to enjoy that, Bernie. They do a really, really nice job. We got several of them, and we shared at Thanksgiving, and so they do a great job in CPS. And by the way, I'm not a paid endorser for the CPS Cafe. Just want to be clear on that point. Oh, we have another dean stopping by. It's a cavalcade of deans. They're arriving as a posse, apparently. Now we have a relatively new face to campus, Josh Hagen, the Dean of the College of Letters and Science. Josh, there you are.
Well, thank you, Chris, and hello, Chancellor Patterson. One of the perks of being Chancellor at UWSP is receiving a copy of all of the new books released through Cornerstone Press, which is one of only 4 undergraduate staffed presses in the United States. Chancellor Patterson, I'm told that you have taken great enjoyment in receiving these books during your time as Chancellor. So on behalf of Cornerstone Press and the College of Letters and Science, and as a token of our appreciation for all of your service, we will be pleased to continue providing you with copies of Cornerstone Press publications in retirement. And we hope this helps you stay connected to the UWSP community. So thank you and best of luck, Chancellor Patterson.
Josh, thank you so much. I really do appreciate receiving those books, and I've taken some to my boat, and I have a small but select library on my boat, and I'll add to that as well. So thank you.
Cornerstone Press, an absolute gem on this campus, one of many gems that we have. And Bernie, as a former police officer, I think you can appreciate getting the book thrown at you, as I'm sure you did to many perpetrators during those years. So Josh, thank you very much. And it's a wonderful operation, Cornerstone Press. They did our book as well that we had for the Capitol campaign. So I know that's in your library as well, Bernie. We've got another comment for you, Chancellor. This one is from the website. Again, the address just over my shoulder. And it says, Bernie, I appreciate the leadership and foresight that you, Christine Thomas, and the Stevens family demonstrated while establishing the first endowed faculty position at UWSP. It was the start of other great endowments for the university and was a career changer for me Again, I didn't write this, but I could also say that it was a career changer for me as well. The writer says, thank you for everything.
Chris, you know, I remember I was away from campus at a conference or a meeting when Christine Thomas called me to tell me about that gift. And that was our first endowed chair. I'm pretty sure she had some tears in her eyes that day. I still remember that conversation.
Yeah, I remember it too. I got a call that day as well, and it was a big moment. And we were lucky enough to have another, 4 chairs follow that one. So that was a great moment. And I know I said it in my comments, but you set the tone, Bernie, and those things would not have happened without the way you got people involved and to really care about the university in a way that they hadn't before. And speaking of CNR, this is a good time to bring in the successor to Christine Thomas in the College of Natural Resources. Not a new face to campus. Brian SLOSS has been around for some time on campus. Now Brian is the dean, and Brian is joining us now. Hello, sir.
Morning. Good morning, Chancellor Patterson.
Morning.
10 years. Wow. There's been a lot been said, but I'm going to take a moment and reiterate congratulations on not only the last decade, but 42, 43-year career. Kudos, and what a successful run, and looking forward to your next chapter. Thank you from our college and from me and from all of us for all you've done to support our university and our college through the years. I've always personally appreciated your support for me. You and I have developed a good friendship and relationship over the years, and it's always fun when my kids say, that university guy that lives a few blocks over just rode his bike through the cul-de-sac again. So we're going to miss seeing you come cruising through the neighborhood on your treks. So hopefully we'll see you when you come back. What a decade it's been. The last comment just alluded to the initial endowed chair, but 2 endowed chairs, an endowed professorship, an endowed graduate assistant, the facility improvements at all 3 of the field stations on campus, and hundreds of, selfishly in our college, professional natural resource managers, professional environmental education specialists, conservation professionals, engineers, all taking their rightful places as current and future leaders in their fields. All thanks to the partnerships that we have across all of campus, but with your leadership helping lead the way. We wanted to send you out with a couple of mementos from the college. Nobody would give up a side of venison, so you're out of luck. You got to get your own. And we don't have our own brand of camo yet. We're working on that. But we wanted to send you out with a 125-year anniversary college hat to help you in those hot summer days down in Oklahoma. And of course, you got to have something from your favorite green space. So here's a ceramic mug from Schmeekley Reserve. So, and I'm pretty sure not just coffee, but other colored beverages to go into that during your downtime. We hope you will use these in the coming days, months, and years, and remember us all fondly as we'll remember our successes and time with you fondly. Thank you for all you've done. Good luck and Godspeed in your retirement. Chancellor Gibson, we're looking forward to you and your family's arrival, and welcome. You have big shoes to fill.
Brian, I have it in my office, and I think I'm going to keep it because it's not functional anymore. A bear collar that you guys gave me shortly after doing the bear denning one winter, which was a really interesting and delightful thing to do. You'll have to take the new Chancellor bear denning. It's not like snipe hunting. It's not like that. But it's an experience. And I also have a cookie, I think you call it, that Al Thompson and I cut when we were having demonstrations out on the front lawn of BOWMAN.
And we still have 10 fingers? Show for it afterward? Okay, good.
Well, I personally am grateful that I only had to wear that collar for the first 3 years that I was back on campus. So I'm glad it's no longer functional, Bernie. But that's very good to hear. More comments coming in. This one is Bernie, UWSP is a stronger institution because of you. You always see the best in people and bring out the best. You leave us with resilience, perseverance, and a steadfast moral compass. Best wishes as you start your next chapter. Starting a next chapter makes me think of the library, which makes me think of University College. And how can you think of University College without thinking of its dean, a fellow Pointer, Gretel Stock. Dean Stock.
Thank you, Chris. And Chancellor, on behalf of University College, we and the campuses at Marshfield and Wausau, we wish you the absolute best in your retirement. It is very clear that you are supportive and always supportive of student success. University College came into being under your tenure, and you've also been a strong champion for Albertson Hall and its renovation to be able to further support student success for another 50 years into the future. So we have a couple of tokens for you today. The first is, oh, I'm sorry, you can't see that. It's an I Love Albertson Hall button. I'm going to hold it here. It's actually very special because it's made of recycled library books. So you can take a little piece of the UW-Stevens Point Library with you, of our main campus location. I also will be sharing with you a framed artistic print of a thank you from Albertson Hall and from University College, which includes a lovely artistic rendering of the building and of our pathway into our building over the Pride Crosswalk, which I know was another initiative of yours that you were very proud to support through SGA. I also want to mention that I would be remiss with my background as a librarian if I didn't mention that perhaps you'd consider taking your iconic shoes and donating them to the archives, where we take all sorts of mementos and treasured pieces from our history. And while you are, of course, in our hearts, you are also now becoming part of our treasured history. So, Chancellor, as you consider some of your items that are distinctive and iconic to you, we would be grateful to take care of them in the archives and in University College. So thank you, Chancellor.
I might do that, Gretel, but could I check them out when I come back to visit campus?
I'm pretty sure we could work something out.
All right.
What a great idea. That's a lovely idea, Gretel. Thank you. Yeah. We are getting comments that are coming in repeatedly here. That some are short and sweet. Thank you, Bernie, for your many years of steady service to UWSP. Here's Chancellor Patterson. Thank you for your energy, passion for higher education, and your service for the past 10 years as Chancellor. Best wishes to you in retirement. Thank you, Chancellor Patterson, for your service. It's been a pleasure working with you. Welcome, Chancellor Gibson. I look forward to your leadership at UWSP. And there are more, and we'll read some more of those later. But as we know, and as Gretel alluded to, and was also mentioned earlier, Bernie, above all, has been inspired by students. Student success has been right up there with family first for Bernie. And so now we bring DYLLAN GRIEPENTROG, one of the UWSP's finest when it comes to students, and a great heir, I guess, to the legacy that Bernie talked about in his comments of student government being a tremendous partner and advocate for the university. And so Dylan's going to offer his own thoughts now. So please.
Well, thank you, Chris, and good morning, Chancellor. I feel like there are a lot of things that we can, touch on and point to in terms of what you've worked with us in student engagement, from differential tuition to the Green Fund, to the Green Ribbon Award that we received as an institution. The list goes on, but one of the big things that I really want to point out is, and I'm sure you're aware of this, over the past decade, the SGA at UW-Stevens Point has gained a reputation for being a trend-setting and influential organization, across the state and across the UW system. And it really kind of we've been able to pave the way for a lot of student-focused initiatives that kind of encouraged other student governments to follow suit. I think this was in part because of the passionate, student leaders that we have in our organization, but also because of the opportunities that you as Chancellor provided us as students to sit around the table and have, in a say and an influence in key decision making on campus. One of my favorite things to do when I was student body vice president was actually to boast about all of the different ways that we were involved in shared governance and in decision making. It was kind of eye-opening to see all of the different things that we did and were able to do on our campus, because you brought us around the table and you worked with us pretty closely, that other students really didn't get to do on other campuses. So I think I can speak on behalf of SGA and the student body when I say that we are very appreciative of your willingness to incorporate students and student leaders in key decisions and discussions on a variety of different topics. And I want to thank you for your commitment to UWSP and dedication to the student experience over the past 10 years. And I wish you well in your retirement and hope you are able to spend a ton of time on the boat and are able to relax a little bit. And as a token of our appreciation here, I have a couple of mementos for you. The first one is actually a pair of UWSP sunglasses. I think these are similar to the ones that you wore in your welcome video, where we played Frisbee and did all of those dancing moves and other things. And then I also wanted to provide you with a COVID-19 kit that we provided all of the students on campus. So there's masks and hand sanitizer and other things in here. So I wish you the best of luck again, and I can't wait to work with new Chancellor Gibson and see where we can go from here. So,
Thank you, Dylan. It's all about student success, and we've got the best students ever. So, thank you for all that you've done for our campus as well.
Yeah, Dylan, a long line of student leaders that have really made an impact, have been great partnership for university leadership as well. So important to have people like Dylan and all the past leaders of student government. So thank you. Bernie, more comments continue to come in, and I will read just one more at the present time. It says here, Bernie, while you often asked the impossible, you also made sure that these impossible projects were made possible. You would take the care so your people were protected as insurmountable efforts were underway to better our university. Your requirement of excellence and your passion for taking on those things that appeared impossible has made us all better. You have made me better. Most of all, you really have made our university better. Thank you for that. And there are more along the same vein. And I think they'll all be available to you, Bernie, to take a look at later if we don't get a chance to read them all during this town hall. But today, as we're celebrating Bernie's 10.5 years leading my alma mater, UW Stevens Point, and the success that has been enjoyed. We're, of course, doing this virtually because we can't gather in person. Bernie will still be Chancellor until the 4th of January. That's the official point at which Bernie's tenure ends. And at that point, actually a week later, on January the 11th, we will welcome Dr. Thomas Gibson. And I believe he likes to be called Tom, so we shouldn't stand on formality with that. Here to tell us more about our new Chancellor Select is Mary Bowman. Mary was the Vice Chair of the Chancellor's Search and Screen Committee. Mary? There you are. Hello.
Thank you, Vice Chancellor Richards. As you've just said, our primary focus this morning is reflecting on the 10 years of Chancellor Patterson's leadership and saying farewell to him. But we still want to look ahead. And in a moment, we will hear from Dr. Gibson, who will be our next Chancellor beginning in January. The search for our new Chancellor began in March, just as the pandemic was arriving. And there was a lot of trepidation about what impact that might have on our ability to find the kind of leader that UWSP needs and deserves. Well, the search committee was delighted when we saw what a large and deep pool of candidates had applied for the position. Dr. Gibson impressed the committee with his achievements in student success and retention, in fundraising, in diversity, equity, and inclusion, and in building partnerships between student affairs and academic affairs. When he visited UWSP in September, he showed that he also has the soft skills a chancellor needs: asking good questions, listening, and building relationships with students, staff, faculty, and community leaders. I'm told that in the final interview with the regents and senior system administration, he, quote, knocked it out of the park. So it is my pleasure to introduce him today as your new chancellor. Welcome, Tom, to UWSP. We look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Dr. Bowman. And Chancellor Patterson, thank you for those kind words. And you hit the nail on the head when you shared that pecking order. That is indeed the pecking order of my household. But good morning, everyone. As you probably can imagine, I am beyond honored, thrilled, and grateful for the opportunity to serve as the 15th Chancellor of the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point. I would like to extend my gratitude to Dr. Bowman, as well as the Search and Screen Committee, President Thompson, as well as the Board of Regents for their vote of confidence. I will work hard each day to live up to the responsibilities of this leadership position, as well as the office. You know, I pursued a career in higher education with one singular purpose, and that is to help more students succeed. You know, this sense of purpose began for me when I was a first-generation undergraduate college student. I was uncertain how to navigate the university, or if I even belong, or certainly I was challenged by being able to afford the institution for 4 years. This is why supporting student success is so important to me. Together, we have the opportunity to expand pathways for student success. These are indeed challenging times to lead institutions of higher education, but I am encouraged because our values and our mission endures. It has been great meeting many of you, even if virtually, over the past month and weeks. You know, I had the opportunity to visit campus again last month, and with my mask on, I thought that I would be unrecognizable. That wasn't the case. So many thanks to my new colleagues who stopped me and engaged with me, as well as those other colleagues who stared from a distance. I really appreciate that engagement opportunity. I would also like to thank the faculty and staff for their efforts to ensure students continue to receive a quality UW-Stevens Point education and support services in this remote teaching and learning environment. Your good work does not go unnoticed. While UW-Stevens Point students are resilient and adaptable, I would like to thank each student for sharing their challenges and their concerns and how we may best serve them during these unprecedented times. UW-Stevens Point is a special place, and it's because of each of you. Bernie, I would like to thank you for your leadership in advancing the mission of the institution for a decade, and certainly for your support during this transition period. I repeatedly heard that these are indeed big shoes that I will need to fill. So I'm just hoping that I can live up to that expectation. And I've just learned that you're a great dancer too, so that makes living up to that expectation that much more challenging. But I have prioritized 3 imperatives: academic excellence, enrollment and growth, and inclusive excellence to continue to move UW-Stevens Point forward. And I invite the entire campus community to join me in this important work. I look forward to meeting as many students as possible, engaging with my new colleagues, community, business stakeholders, and leaders. And once safe to do so, I would really enjoy attending public lectures, athletic events, as well as campus performances, to mention a few. My family and I can't wait to join you all in just a few short weeks. We have already found a new home, and we are looking forward to putting down some roots. So until then, be well, be safe, and thank you.
Well, thank you, Tom. I think I probably speak for many people on campus when I mention how excited we are that you are the Chancellor Select. Outlining those 3 imperatives, I think, are exactly what people are going to be excited about. They are definitely things, I think, on all of our minds. So I am very optimistic that this is going to be a tremendous partnership for all of us on campus. And we are delighted that you're coming not just to our university community, but also to the greater Central Wisconsin community. So on behalf of my colleagues, welcome. We're delighted to have you. Looking forward to actually having a chance where we can sit down. I think when we met during your interview, didn't even get to shake hands, so I'm looking forward to, doing those kind of things. I think all of us are looking forward to seeing people without masks on in person and maybe having a handshake or a hug or whatever it is one does as a greeting in the before times anyway. So thank you for your comments, Tom. Bernie, I don't know if you want to add anything or not along the way at this point. To what Tom has said, or you want to put a benediction on it before we go into the last element of our town hall?
Oh, I am just so elated that Tom and his family are coming to Stevens Point. The future is bright for this university. It's bright for our faculty and our staff and our students and our alumni. I'm looking forward to hearing the great things that are going to be happening on campus. So keep me posted, as they say, about new developments. But I wish you all well.
Well, I think Tom will be a great success, and I think a reason for that success will be the foundation that you put in place, Bernie. So thank you. And I know we opened the program today with the special music that was prepared for you. It was composed by a UWSP student that graduated in 2014, actually. And now, Bernie, as we bid you farewell, I guess in a formal sense, we will close, I guess, with another definitive Bernie Patterson moment, something that is sort of, I guess, your personal mantra, advice that you have given to thousands of graduates over this more than a decade that you've been chancellor. And we have it recorded for you, and we're going to share it now.
It is the tradition at UW-Stevens Point for the chancellor to give a charge to the graduates at the end of the commencement ceremony. So I'll do just that. What would you expect to hear? Graduates, perhaps some of the same things I considered saying: to be a leader, to make good use of your education, to make the world a better place. While these are good thoughts and certainly things we want you to do, they're being expressed at commencement ceremonies across this country. UW-Stevens Point is no ordinary university, and your experience here has been anything but ordinary. So I say to you simply this: reach out to those who are alone. Speak up for those who have no voice. Stand up for those who cannot stand.